Welcome, everyone. I can see that people are starting to trickle in, so thank you for coming. Just to ensure that you are in the right place, I am Carla here from CalSOAP, the California Student Opportunity and Access Program. Tonight, we're going to be talking about 12th graders, those high school seniors. Many of them are right now in the process of figuring out where they're going to be, what they're going to be doing in the summer and fall, where they're going to maybe be attending college, what they might have to do to accept an offer, what they should be knowing about financial aid, etc. And I do want to assure you that this webinar is being recorded, and so it'll be available to view tomorrow on our website. So I'm putting that link directly into the chat. And in addition to the recording, the slide deck that I'm going to be sharing will also be available on our website in that same place beginning tomorrow. So although the chat is not open, it's open for you to view, but not to use right now. But if you do have a question, one of our lead staff members, Francisco, is here, and he is going to be able to get on the Q&A. So you should see a little Q&A command down at the bottom of your Zoom screen. You can go ahead and click on that. And if you have a question, please type it in there. Francisco is going to do his best to answer. And if he needs to unmute himself and ask me to address it out loud so that I can address it for the whole group, then we will do that. So don't hesitate. Please feel free to get on that Q&A and ask your questions. Francisco is also a student at UC San Diego, and so he has a lot of experience both from being a college student side of it and also working in the education field. So, all right. Okay, I think that people are still going to be joining throughout the time, but I want to get started so that we can definitely make sure to end by 7 and have time for individual questions if you have any. So I'm going to go ahead and begin by sharing my slide deck, which again will be available starting tomorrow. Let me go ahead and share screen. Okay. So these are some of the various resources that I'm going to be discussing and that Francisco will be able to post in the chat at the appropriate times. I'll share our scholarship database and our virtual classroom. There's a couple good search tools to figure out occupations, majors, and comparing colleges. And I also have a couple of websites that will help you compare things like the financial aid letters or financial aid awards that might be coming from different colleges and how to help analyze that and possibly make a decision for, financially speaking, what might be the best decision for you. So if you're a senior or if your student is a senior, I know senior year has been exciting and it has probably been full. It has been full of forms. It has been full of, college applications, college acceptances, all kinds of decisions, figuring things out. And of course, I have there in yellow prom, because for many people that's coming up soon, and that's a big part of the senior year for a lot of people. So when the senior year ends, I know it's all our focus is there right now, but of course, college is next. And so we want to kind of go into, okay, well, how do we make that decision? I also want to acknowledge that if you're a high school senior, or if you're the family member or guardian of a high school senior, there's a lot of things going on right now emotionally and mentally. Some of it has to do with stress levels, feeling that need for perfection, and how the college process fits into all of that. One thing that might be going on with people, and it's possible you might have even received one already, is fear of rejection. There's this whole admission cycle. Many universities are very competitive, and sometimes it's hard to get into your first choice of university or your major or program of choice, or you might be applying for scholarships that are very competitive. And so for sometimes, especially for students who are of higher ability and higher achievement, this might be the first time that they might be getting quote unquote rejections or not acceptances. And so so sometimes that is something new and can be difficult, and there's fear that goes into dealing with that. And also sometimes you're a little bit split about which college am I going to pick? Does it have the major that I want? Am I accepted to that major? Where am I going to live? What classes am I going to take? There's a lot of unknown coming, right? After probably 4 years at the same high school, this is a big change. Also, it's possible that you might be leaving home. And so that's a big process as well. If you've never been away from home, doing adult things, paying bills, living in a different place, having to worry about your own food and taking care of yourself, that can be kind of stressful. And then finances, of course, is a big concern for families, for parents, and for students. For most of you, this is probably the largest purchase, if you want to call it that, of your life so far. And so there's a lot of decisions to make in that sense. Also, sometimes you feel like if you've been a big fish in a small pond, so to speak, and all of a sudden you're going to the big pond that is college, sometimes that can be intimidating. Sometimes students hear that college is more difficult than high school, and that can be intimidating. And plus there's just the unknown, right? It can be unsettling, but it can also be very exciting. This is a big life-changing experience. I want you to know that anything you're processing, anything you're experiencing, everyone around you is going through the same questions right now, and everything you're feeling is natural and is valid. So I hope that there's a lot of excitement and enthusiasm, along with sometimes the fearfulness and the anxiety, but hopefully we can, help you through it. And one of the things that's important to do right now is make sure that if you haven't already done so, you're selecting your final college. So today is April 12th, 2023. If you're planning to attend a 4-year university and to start there as a freshman, you're only about 2.5 weeks away from the May 1st intent to register deadline. Most colleges have something called SIR, student intent to register, or they might call it AYO, accept your offer. And for most universities, May 1st is the deadline for someone going in as a college freshman. They have to decide by that time and give a definite yes to one specific university. If you've already applied, you've probably received financial aid awards or financial aid packages from the colleges to which you applied, and that's another thing to be assessing and going through. Another thing I know is happening for seniors, you're probably receiving tons and tons of emails every day from the colleges that you've applied to. And sometimes it's a lot to struggle through and make a decision like, okay, here's one from housing, here's one from financial aid, here's one from admissions, here's one from my department. It's a lot to deal with. I know sometimes you can get cut to feeling kind of a little bit over it at this time of year, but let me help you by giving you some concrete steps to take and some suggestions. So the first thing that might be really important about deciding on a college is thinking about your major. What did you apply for? Were you accepted into your first choice? Also, it's perfectly fine, and sometimes it's totally even advisable to apply as an undeclared major. A lot of college students do change their majors 1 to 3 times. However, there are some colleges where you are not allowed to change into certain majors because they're so impacted, meaning they're very popular and they have fewer spots. Then they have many more students who want to do that major than they have spots to. So an example of that at UC San Diego would be something like computer science. That's a really difficult one. It's very impacted. Or sometimes if there's one like at San Diego State, they have a nursing program. You're not allowed to switch into nursing. You have to be initially accepted into nursing. It's one of the few majors you can't actually change into. Also, for many people, you don't actually have to make a final decision until maybe your junior or senior year of college to actually finalize what your major is. So you might start with one major and be going in right now as a high school graduate with the intent of that major, but you could change your mind, and it doesn't have to be in your freshman or sophomore year of college. Some people can wait till junior or senior year, and if they're taking a lot of good, prerequisite classes, they can still maybe change their mind and still change their major junior or senior year. So a couple things that you can do as far as researching, okay, which majors go with which career clusters, or how do I search which college has the majors that I'm interested in? And here's some really good websites to do that. And I think Francisco can also share hyperlinks to these in the chat. ONET is one of them, and that is a really career-focused one where it says, like, for this career cluster, we recommend this college major. Big Future is College Board's search tool, and they have all kinds of search tools. You can compare colleges, you can compare majors, you can compare financial aid, you can research careers. My Majors specifically, as it sounds like, My Majors is specifically a website that's devoted to figuring out what major or what you can study in college. All right, step 2, what are the make or break criteria for you, the student? For some people, it might be very important to go to a public or a private institution for whatever reason. Some people who want to go into a specialized career or a hands-on vocational career, they want to go to a vocational school or something that offers hands-on vocational training. Some students, it's very important for them to start at a university, a 4-year, and for others, a better fit is a 2-year or community college. For some, it's important to them what degrees are offered. Now, as far as the master's and PhD and certificate level, that's not until graduate school anyway, so you don't have to worry about that at this point, because you can get like an associate's or a bachelor's at one college and then, you know, apply to a different college for graduate school, like for a master's or a teaching credential, a counseling certificate, a PhD, things like that. But those are some important things to a lot of people. Think about what majors are offered, what departments do they have there? Do they match your career interests? Some people are very into a very practical, like, I want to apply this in real life. And some people are more into, if you want to say, academic or theoretical type of studying. It might be very structured or very individualized. What is their general education requirements? And that's going to vary a lot from college to college. And also look at their graduation rate. Like, do students graduate on the average of 4 years or 4.5 years or 5 years? Is there an 80% graduation rate, a 90%, a 95% graduation rate? How does that school do in general? That might be important to people. Some other important things to think about are, you might be really into a large active campus with tons of activities and lots of people. Then again, you might really like the homey feeling of a small campus with small class size. Maybe the faculty is important to you. Are they esteemed? Have they published research? Are they famous? Those kinds of things are important for some people. Also, what is the campus quality and reputation? If you know someone who's gone there, you can ask them or their alumni association. Maybe you want to look them up in national rankings, but it depends on what they're ranking on, of course, because there's all kinds of things from like the best college that's public, or the best colleges for engineering, or the best colleges for dining plans, or there's all kinds of different things. Also, geographic location is important. How far is it from home? Is it easy to travel home? So if you're moving out of state, or if you're moving onto a college campus, do you have to, for example, do you have to leave and go either home or somewhere else during things like a Thanksgiving break, a winter break, a spring break? Is it in-state or out of state? If it's out of state and it's public, are they charging out of state tuition fees? Also, some people like an urban, a rural, or a suburban setting. Safety is an important precaution. People want to know, like, are there police services on this campus? Are there campus escorts that will walk me to my car? And there's also, like, what are the resources in the area? Like, what are the stores, the eateries, the residential areas? If you are a person of faith, what are the local worship services where this is? And also housing. Is it available? Is it guaranteed? Is it required? There are some colleges that actually make you live on campus as a freshman. There are others for whom it's an option. There are others where it's even guaranteed. So you have to, read the statements that come from the college and find out. A couple other things that might be important to you about a campus is if they have a religious affiliation. Some people might be interested in an HBCU, like a historically Black college or university. Some might even be gender specific, like a women's or a men's college. It might be important to you something like, is there a diverse student body? And also, I know this sounds maybe not that big of a deal, but if you have a specific diet, food can be very important. And some colleges are better than others at having things like halal options, kosher options, foods that are allergy friendly, or good vegan and vegetarian options. So it's good to know that. And if you're planning to join like an ROTC program, or maybe you are interested in the military, then it's good to know, well, does this college have an ROTC? And if so, what branch of the military? Is it like an Air Force ROTC? Is it an Army ROTC? It's also good to know, like, you know, what kind of libraries and computer labs are on campus. There might be something you might want to make sure there's mental health counseling there, that they have disability services. Like if you have an IEP, can they still accommodate your IEP at the college level? Like, for example, a common accommodation would be extra time with test taking. Okay. For some people, it's really important to know what sports are available there because they want to attend or participate in sports. They might want someplace that's really rich in the performing arts, things like theater, music, dance, art, design. They might be really interested in the clubs and the student organizations. They might be interested in Greek life, like fraternities and sororities, and just general student involvement and leadership. And of course, parents, I know you're looking at this one. This is a very important one, is the cost. So the total cost of attendance, that comprises tuition and fees, room and board, books and supplies, and basic living costs. I know that that's a fee that you're going to have to pay, but then all colleges will also offer you a financial aid package. And right now is the time when they're usually releasing those to students between March and June. That might include things like if you filled out the FAFSA or the DREAM Act, did you qualify for any federal grants? Did you qualify for any state grants? Did you apply for, did you qualify for any campus grants or scholarships that are from either whether they're external and you're bringing them in yourself or they're from the actual college itself? And sometimes a package will also include the option of a loan. However, you don't have to take a loan. Some people, that's a make or break decision for them. So these are two really good websites. I'm going to show you a couple examples in later slides of an example of what they look like and how to compare college costs. But Decide Ed is a nice one where if you create a free account with them, you can actually take a picture with your phone of your financial aid award statement that comes from your college, and you can take a couple of them of different colleges, upload them to Decide Ed, and they will actually kind of compare them for you, because instead of having one national standard for what a financial aid award letter should look like, every college kind of has their own system. And so sometimes it can be like, okay, well, here I have my EFC, but over here is my cost of attendance, but this one does include tuition and this one doesn't. So it's a good way to compare them. And also there's a worksheet. It's just a PDF that you can literally take and, compare college costs that way. So I will make sure that those get in the chat and that you'll have those at the end and they'll be posted so you can see some good resources. And Francisco, feel free to post those, the Decide Ed and the NASFA one, feel free to post those in the chat. All right.
Post it.
Okay, thank you. So now what are your must-haves? What are the criteria that are the most important to you as a family? Okay, in order to do that, you've got to research. Hopefully you might have gone to like Triton Day last Saturday at UC San Diego, or maybe you're going to be going to like the Admitted Day. A lot of colleges have them, like once you're accepted and you're still deciding, they have events on campus where you can go check out the campus and find out about it. You can also do a lot of virtual research. You can use Big Future. You can talk to people, you can look on social media. And it's really interesting. Like if you look on social media, you might find like, oh, I want to be an English major and the English department has an Instagram, or the marine science department, or the police services on that campus, or whatever it is. So those are really good places to research. And now when you're making your choice, now you take all those important criteria and you narrow it down. You're the buyer, you're the customer, you're the one who gets to go shopping, right? So you get to make the selection. And I'm going to give you an example. There's no such, I can't tell you what are the most important things to you. You have to decide what are the priorities for us, for my family. And so I'm going to give you an example of 3 different students and what their individual priorities might be. None of these is right or wrong or good or bad. This is just maybe if you had to narrow it down to a top 3, what would be the 3 most important things for you in a college? So for student 1, they want to stay close to home. Okay, they don't necessarily want to live at home, but they want to be at least close enough to visit home a lot. They want to be able to afford to go without a loan. So whether they have to work, use savings, get grants and scholarships, whatever it is, but it's really important to them not to engage in student debt, not to take on any loan debt. So that's their second criteria. And their third criteria is that they were accepted to their top choice of major. They're very convinced that they want to do that major. They're not going to change that major. And it's important to them to start, right away taking classes in that major. So that might be student 1. For student two, let's say that they are interested in a historically Black college or university. They've always wanted to go to one. That is their dream. It's also very important for them that the college has a top-ranked business program, and also they happen to be vegetarian. So they're looking for a place that has a lot of vegetarian-friendly dining options. And here's student three. They would like an excellent music department because they're going to be a music major or something related. They also have some learning disabilities, and so they want a college that has a good office of students with disabilities so that that can be accommodated. And they love sports, so they want a big college that has like NCAA Division I sports teams, maybe even in a particular kind of sport. All of these are wonderful. None of them are better than the other. I just want to point out that if you had to boil it down to the top three, kind of think about, well, what are maybe the three most important things in a college for me? All right, campus visits are a great way to get a feel for the college. If you can do it in person, it's really nice to be able to talk to students, talk to faculty, eat in the quad, eat at a restaurant or a food dining hall that's there. But if you cannot physically visit the campus, almost all campuses now offer virtual tours where they have a lot of great drone footage and YouTube videos that are pretty short, and you can check out what the campus looks like. And of course, you can also research what's the campus history, what are their statistics, what are interesting facts. You can contact their admissions department or whatever department it is you're interested, if you're interested in psychology, if you're interested in engineering or whatever it is. Acquaint yourself with what kind of classes are offered there. And also most campuses have things like newspapers, like online publications, social media posts, so you can find out about what are the local issues, what are the activities that go on this campus. I know that this is a very, very important step for all of us because, like I said, if you're deciding to invest in college, it's probably for a student, absolutely would be the biggest purchase that they would be making. So while you're waiting to hear back from campuses, make sure that now, if you haven't already, you should have filled out either a FAFSA or a California Dream Act. Okay, so those are the forms for financial aid. FAFSA is if you have a Social Security number. The California Dream Act is if you do not have a Social Security number, but you have been here for at least 3 years. There are also some private universities that they want an additional form in addition to either a FAFSA or a Dream Act. They require what's called the CSS profile, and that's another valid financial aid form you might be filling out. And then also now is a good time to apply for scholarships. So at CalSOAP San Diego, we have a scholarship tab that has a list of scholarships. We also list them constantly on our social media, like our Twitter and our Instagram. You can try a national database of scholarships like scholarships.com, fastweb.com, malduff.org is a good one that has collections of scholarships that don't ask your residency or immigration status. So if you're looking for something that specifically might not necessarily be only for a US citizen, but for anybody, MalDef has a good collection of those scholarships. All right, and now is time when you are getting that mail, and it is coming by email. Right now is when people are starting to get, yes, you're accepted, I'm sorry, you're not accepted, or you might be on the waiting list. The time frame is right now, and usually for most universities, they've made their decisions, they've notified students, and for many of them, like I said, May 1st is the time when you have to decide. So now is the time to decide. I want to make sure that you think about, do you really see yourself graduating from that college? And if you do, is it because you've always had it in the back of your head, or someone told you it's a good college, or is it because it feels like a really good fit for you? Think about, what is the cost of attendance? How affordable is it? Right? Because for a lot of us, affordability is going to be the main thing, or the main reason we make a decision. Can I afford this campus for 4 years? Okay, so when you get a sample, this is a sample of what a financial aid award letter might look like. So this particular person, they're receiving almost $40,000, and this is for 1 year. You see a fall and a spring semester. So they're receiving almost $40,000 in financial aid. That's amazing. So they've got faculty scholarship, Pell Grant, opportunity grants. They have a couple loans packaged in there too that they're willing to take. However, the estimated cost of attendance for this particular college is about $61,000 a year. which means that they still are short by about $21,000. So if they're like, this is it, I'm doing it, I'm committed to this school, then they're going to have to figure out how to come up with that additional $21,000. Now, as you can see, they're already accepting loans in part of their financial aid award packages. But in addition to that, they would have to pay out of pocket if they did, for example, 12 payments a year, like once a month they paid the college, that would be $1,800 a month that they still owe that college. So you have to start thinking about, like, am I willing to take on debt? Is this really affordable? What college is going to give me the best financial aid package, where regardless of the total cost of attendance, how much are they giving me in financial aid? How much are they offering me in things like grants and scholarships? And this is the comparison chart that I was referring to, where you can actually say that you've narrowed it down to 3 colleges or 5 colleges or something like that, where you can actually either you can type this in or you can literally write it by hand if you print it out. You name the college. You say, what is their total cost of attendance? Like, what are their tuition and fees? What is room and board? And room and board, you might not be paying the college for that. You might be living at home or in an apartment, and you might be paying your own rent and buying your own food. Okay, it depends. Not everyone's going to live on campus. How much do they estimate for books and supplies? Are there any travel expenses you need to think about, and any personal expenses? Like, you might need a cell phone plan, you might need a laptop, you might need Wi-Fi or a wireless hotspot, whatever it is, think about including that. And all colleges do have a calculator that will give you a total cost of attendance for not just the tuition and fees, but their estimate what it would be for other things, a parking permit, whatever. Then you have under the same columns, you have a place to put financial aid. How much are they offering you in grants? How many are they offering you in scholarships or other gift aid? Those are the ones that don't have to be repaid. Now, the next line is for loans. Now, whether it's like a federal loan, a Perkins loan, it might be to the students or it might be to the parents. There's something called a PLUS. That's for parents of undergraduate students, a parent loan. So it depends. It might be in the student's name, it might be in the parent's name, it might be both. Sometimes you have to start with a parent loan if the student has not built any credit yet, right? So if you've never had a credit card or built any kind of credit, this might be, colleges when you start to do that. And then also, are you going to work? Like, do you have a job offer? Are you going to take a work study job? Are you going to commit to working a certain number of hours a week? And then you're going to have to be able to kind of subtract one from the other. What's the total cost? What are you getting in financial aid? And how much is uncovered? And hopefully there's a college out there where the uncovered is 0. In other words, where everything can be covered by a combination of grants and scholarships and maybe some low interest loans. But this is the kind of thing that you've got to do the work and compare and figure out, financially speaking, what's the best deal for our family? What's affordable for our family? Okay. So now we're on to step 10, and really we are down to the wire because, like I said, May 1st is usually when you have to accept your offer or submit a statement of intent to register by whatever your college deadline is. It's really important at this time to remain up to date with emails from your colleges, or if they say you have a college portal where you log into your portal, you might even have to create separate portals, like maybe one for housing, maybe one for matriculation and admission. Also, if you are already decided and there are certain colleges, like you're like, I'm decided on college X, but college Y is still bugging you with a bunch of emails, it's okay to decline your offer there. Once you decline them, they're going to stop sending you all that stuff. Now, you don't have to do this. If you want to wait until, leave it down to the very last minute and still receive everything from everyone, you can. But if you are closer to making a decision, or at least you've eliminated one or more colleges, it's okay to go ahead, and most of them have a way you can decline if you would like to actively decline admission there. Hopefully you maybe got admission or acceptances to more than one. So there are various things that they're going to tell you this spring and this summer that you need to submit certain paperwork. Sometimes it might be something like about your residency status. Sometimes it might be something about housing. Are you applying for on-campus housing? Is there an orientation, and what's the orientation date? When do you actually register for classes? Like, what's your registration date and time? Do they require any placement exams to know like what level of math or English to start you in, and any other forms that they might need for financial aid or anything else? All right. So what can you do if you've been waitlisted somewhere or if you have been denied admittance? The first thing I would say is if you've been waitlisted, read that letter carefully. Sometimes they might ask you if you still want to be considered on the wait list. That might not be automatic. They might ask you to log in and do something called an opt-in, like, yes, I'm still interested. Please keep me on the wait list. So if that's the case, make sure that you have done that. And also a couple other things you could consider if you're denied admittance is one of the following. There's often a process to appeal the decision. For some campuses, they have an online appeals process and you can only appeal online. For others, they would want you to make an appointment with the campus, like with the admissions department, an interview, whether it's online or in person, to explain why you want to appeal the decision. If you felt the decision was unbased or unfair, or there's new information that you didn't share in your application that you want to share now. Another thing you can do is if you didn't get accepted to one campus, hopefully you can accept at another campus. And sometimes we talk about, okay, well, what's your plan B? What's your backup plan? And another thing that you can do is also you can start at a community college and you can go the transfer route. Community colleges, when you are taking your general education requirements, like in your freshman and sophomore year, a lot of times those classes are either identical to or very similar to the ones that you would have to take anyway at a four-year university. And the community college, while it can be a means and an end of itself, because you can get an associate's degree, a certificate, there's many programs where you can start a career right away. However, all California community colleges offer transfer pathways to get to a UC, a CSU, a private college. Almost every single university in California has programs where they will accept people applying for transfer. Usually it's sometime around your sophomore year of college, you're applying to transfer and usually start at that university as a junior. Also, I know that UCs and CSUs are starting something right now this summer, this year. I believe it's called Transfer Success Pathway or UC Dual Admission, where if you're not accepted to a UC or a Cal State as a freshman, but you are going to go the community college route, they will put kind of a tentative acceptance for you on hold so that you can transfer your junior year as long as you fulfill all the class requirements and grades that you need to at a community college. So there's always other options. If people are like, well, I can't afford this college, all of a sudden it was my dream, but I'm realizing we can't afford it, or it was my dream and I didn't get in. Remember, there's always the option of other colleges and of community colleges. And remember that with the community colleges, transfer is always an option. All right. What about, is my acceptance final? Can a college actually take back my acceptance? Unfortunately, it can. There are some reasons that a college might terminate your offer of acceptance. If you did not adhere to conditions stated in your letter of acceptance, honestly, there might be some colleges or some private colleges where they have a code of conduct. And so they will do things like look at your social media and make sure that that is on point and that there's nothing inappropriate there. Also, if they're requesting you to send something, whether from maybe it's like your final transcript from the registrar or whatever, and you're not sending it or you're not uploading it, that means that they can take you back your acceptance. If you did not, a lot of the intent to registers have a fee. So it could be like a $200, $300, maybe even $500 fee. Sometimes that can be paid back later with financial aid, that they can pay it back to the student if you qualify. But a lot of times you do have to send in a fee by the May 1st deadline. Also, if you're looking for housing on campus, they might require a housing deposit. Well, if you don't send that in and you don't have housing, they might not guarantee you housing. If you're not communicating with the campus and keeping up with their deadlines, and also if you receive a D or an F, like the second semester of your 12th grade year, but you didn't tell them and they suddenly find out in July when they get your transcript, that's not great. And also if when they're getting your final transcript from your registrars, that usually happens in June. If it doesn't match, like if you said, oh, I took APUSH and I got an A, but they look at APUSH and they say, oh, this student, it says C, was their semester grade. So if it doesn't match what you put on your application. So you want to make sure that you've been honest on your applications and that you communicate with the admissions office if there's any changes. A couple final things. Of course, try to visit your top campuses if you can. If not in person, then virtually. Don't just rely on name recognition. Think what's the best fit for you. Sometimes you get generalizations like this school is so hard to get into, or this school is way too expensive, or oh, this is just a party school. But sometimes schools have a much deeper, much richer, broader context for all these things than you would imagine. And so do your own research and find out what the real story is. Be willing to go to any college on your list. If you applied, that means there's a possibility that you wanted to go there. This is a big one. I know a lot of times people will pick a campus. My friend is going there. My girlfriend or boyfriend is going there. Believe me, so many things change. You meet so many new people in college, and there's going to be a place, and you're going to have a good fit. Even if it's not with the same people that you know in high school, you will meet new friends and you will make new connections. I would say don't rule out college out don't rule it out because of cost alone. Remember that there is financial aid available, and that you want to consider this kind of like an investment. It's something that, unlike a car or a house that can be repossessed, no one can take your education away from you. That's not to say that loan debt is a good thing, because it's not. I want you to choose whatever is the smart and affordable option. But just remember that if you just look at the cost of attendance, it can be overwhelming. You always want to look that alongside of what is the financial aid package that they're offering me. And of course, talk with us at CalSOAP, your family, your teachers, your counselors. We're here to help, and hopefully we can all help you make the decision that is best. A couple final thoughts for students. This is especially for 12th graders, that all the emotions and feelings you're feeling right now are natural. You and all your peers are facing a time of great change. You might have peers that are going right into the workforce. You might have peers that are going into the military. You might have people that are scrambling or changing their college decisions right now. It's all natural. Everyone's coming up to a time of change, right? You're not going to be going to high school next year, so things will be different no matter what you're going to be doing. Also, perfection doesn't exist. I know there's a lot of type A's out there. There's a lot of very driven perfectionist people, but there's no such thing as a perfect college or a perfect major or a perfect financial aid package. We're just hoping to get what's the best fit for you. And also, sometimes a lot of other people might be posting on social media, I got into here, I got into there, or this person seems so happy. As we all know, what happens in real life and what happens on social media is not always the same. And so really be paying attention to your heart and your gut, and not necessarily what you see posted everywhere. As far as your tasks to do, try to chunk things into small, manageable blocks. So if your first thing is, okay, my first priority is decide on the college. Second, file my intent to register. And if that comes with money, talk to my parents and figure out how that money is going to them. Third, figure out housing. For, whatever it is, put it in manageable chunks. Okay, this week I'm going to focus on my decision. This week I'm going to focus on scholarship applications, whatever it is. So chunk them into manageable chunks. Don't try to do everything in one weekend. Parents and guardians, you're such an important part of this process. Parent and guardian support, that means student support. The two are very closely linked. So thank you, parents and guardians and school counselors, for everything that you're doing to support students. It's a big, big time of change in their life. And I also want to say, celebrate new beginnings, but process the end. As you kind of close the chapter that is high school, I hope that you can do it with a sense of celebration and a sense of joy and a sense of pride for all that you have accomplished. You may or may not be the first in your family to go to college or the first generation to go to college, but it's important to look forward, but also really think about all that you have done and all that you have accomplished. So that's pretty awesome, and that's pretty fabulous. All right, so calsoapsandiego.org is our website. On the blog section is where we would be posting these resources. So starting tomorrow, there will be this slide deck. There will also be a recording of this webinar. And I want to, at this time, okay, I just want to open it up to see if there are any questions. Francisco, is there anything that you haven't been able to answer, or any remaining questions that I should be focusing on?
I don't think there's any questions. The chat is something maybe to keep that in mind is most colleges, especially in California, are really good. And it's really hard sometimes to go wrong with either, especially when you're talking about top universities. So sometimes the name does matter, but also what you do at that college. So make sure that whatever college you decide to go, you use the resources they have to offer. Because if you go to the best university possible, but you don't use the resources available there, it's like you're going to the worst. So make sure to network, get in contact with people, reach out to the departments that you are, like your major department, counseling, student organizations. You want to get involved as much as possible, especially at the beginning, so you can start getting internships and fellowships.
Yeah, that's for some careers. Think being able to have like research on your resume, to have done research might be really important. To have done community service might be really important. So yeah, it's so important to start, getting in touch with people and making those connections. And I think in this day and age, electronically and via social media is one way to do that until you have the chance to go there and meet people in person. All right, I don't see anything else in the Q&A, so we'll go ahead and end a little bit early. I know we put until 7, but we're ending a little bit early. I'm also going to put my email address in the chat. So if you want to ask me any questions, my email address is kkwhitaker@ucsd.edu. And you're welcome to ask me any questions that you want. Francisco, thank you so much for helping and for helping with the Q&A, and thank you everyone for attending. I will go ahead and end the webinar and wish everyone a wonderful rest of your evening. Thank you.